Steve and Vanessa, a newlywed couple, moved in next door to me about 3 months ago. From the very first time I laid eyes on Vanessa, I dreamed about getting under her feet. She was about 5'6" tall and weighed around 135 pounds, with slightly heavy thighs and hips, just the figure I love. We had met and got to be good friends, inviting each other to outdoor cookouts and things of that nature. I had recently laid new flooring down in my living room, but I didn't glue it down, nor had I replaced the baseboards along the walls yet to hold the flooring down. Sitting in my living room one day, a plan began to formulate in my mind, and after several minutes of thought, I came up with the perfect plan to get Vanessa to punish me with her feet. Being a bachelor, my furniture was scarce, so there wasn't a lot of rearranging to do. I simply rolled the flooring back from one wall about 3 feet and then took my drill with a 3/4 inch bit and drilled a hole in my floor. I laid the rug back in place over the hole and then put a small piece of black electrical tape on the floor where the hole was. I got my caulking gun and a tube of caulking from the garage, and I was all set. I knew Steve was working, so I glanced out my bedroom window to see if Vanessa's car was in the driveway. It was, which meant she was at home. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning, so after carefully going over my plan in my head once more, I picked up the phone and dialed Vanessa's number. After only a couple of rings, she answered. I told her I had a small project going and that I needed her help for about 10 minutes or so. She seemed more than willing to help and asked me what I needed her to do. I told her that a knot in one of the boards in my floor had worked its way out and left a hole, and I needed to put putty in the hole to plug it up, and all she had to do was stand on the putty after I pumped it into the hole and flatten it out to prevent leaving a lump under the rug. I told her she should wear some shoes with hard, chunky heels to flatten the putty with. She seemed very eager to help out and told me she would be over in a few minutes. I was so nervous and excited when I hung up the phone. I was literally shaking like a leaf. I went to my bedroom window again and parted the mini blinds slightly so I could see her when she was coming. After just 5 minutes or so after I had spoken with her on the phone, I saw her come out the door and start walking towards my house. Lo and behold, Vanessa was wearing blue jean short shorts, a white t-shirt, and a pair of black strappy sandals with 2-inch hard, blocked heels. It was perfect for what I wanted. I walked back to my living room and waited for her to knock on my door. In only a moment she knocked. I opened the door and she greeted me with a smile that just about melted me. She was gorgeous with her long, straight blonde hair hanging loosely just below her shoulders. I couldn't help but look down at her feet at her bright red painted toenails. Those sandals should work well, I told her, trying to control the trembling in my excited voice. I then explained to her that the putty I was using dries very quickly when it contacts air, and that when she saw or felt the lump under the rug where the piece of black tape was, to put her heel on the lump and stand on it with all her weight for about 5 minutes to flatten the putty out. Then I told her if the putty hardened and if she could still feel the lump under the rug after she stood on it about 5 minutes, to just stomp the lump with her heel until it was flat and could no longer be felt. She smiled at me and said, "Sounds simple enough to me." Just before I went out to get under the house, I reinforced my instructions, saying this putty gets pretty hard, so if standing on it doesn't work, you'll have to stomp it real hard in order to flatten it out. She laughed and said, "I always knew these extra pounds I have would come in handy for something." I smiled and assured her that she looked great. With that, I took my caulking gun and went outside and crawled up under the house. I worked my way over to where I had drilled the hole in the floor and lay down and got comfortable. Now I was really shaking with excitement, knowing that Vanessa was standing right above me just waiting eagerly to crush my finger. I reached my hand up and stuck my little pinky finger through the hole and felt the rug. It was so excruciating it took my breath away for a few seconds. Before I could regain my breath, she stomped me again. The floor shook again, and again, and again. Vanessa stomped my finger 5 times, and then I could feel the ball of her foot. I took a deep breath and then pushed my pinky under the rug up to about the first joint of my finger. Vanessa must have been watching the floor where the black tape was, because she immediately put the ball of her foot on my finger. I could feel her rubbing her foot across my finger, feeling the putty. In only a second or two, I felt the hard heel of her sandal position on my finger, and then all of her weight came down on it. Pain shot through every nerve in my body as she stood there on my finger, crushing it flat under her beautiful heel. I could feel her heel rocking slightly on my finger as it supported all her weight. The pain was incredible. After about 3 minutes of steady crushing, my finger began to go slightly numb. I could still feel her heel rocking slightly on it, but the pain was now minimized due to the numbness. I lay there enjoying the pleasure of this beautiful woman crushing my finger. The 5 minutes passed pretty quickly after my finger went numb. Finally, I felt her heel lift off of my finger and then felt the ball of her foot rubbing across it to see if the lump was still there. I knew she still felt it, so I braced myself for the stomping I knew was about to come. I felt her foot come off my finger again. Suddenly, stomped. Vanessa stomped my finger so hard that the whole floor shook from the impact. I just thought my finger was numb. I felt my pinky splatter under her heel. The pain was so excruciating it took my breath away for a few seconds. Before I could regain my breath, she stomped me again. The floor shook again, and again, and again. Vanessa stomped my finger 5 times, and then I could feel the ball of her foot rubbing over the lump my finger was making. Then stomped, 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 stomped. 5 more times she stomped my finger incredibly hard, then with the ball of her foot, checked the lump again. My finger was now completely numb, so I left it there until she had stomped on it 5 more times just as hard as all the others. After the 5th stomp this time, I pulled my mangled finger from under the rug. I could her foot rubbing across the rug. As she shouted to me, "I think I've stomped it flat now because I can't feel it." I yelled back, "Okay, I'm coming out." My pinky finger was in a terrible mess. The nail was gone and my finger was as flat as a coin and bleeding. My plan had worked perfectly. When the feeling came back in it, my finger throbbed like a huge drum every time my heart beat. The pain was incredible, but it was worth it all to have this beautiful creature give it such a terrible crushing.